So we ended the interview and Q says, I thought we were going to get juicier. So I said, well, we can go for a round 2 and we can get these juicy details if you like. Now, in speaking, so let's go a little bit deeper, okay, about trauma and in women, because many women don't necessarily understand the root of their trauma and don't really understand I guess, the valley and the experience and how it leads to other things. What do you want to say? What do you want to say in response to that?
Well, I think what I wanted to point out is that I think that in this, we were talking about how like this dating culture online that we're watching, like these podcasts that argue positions and, you hear so much banter about who should be, what gender should do, etc. One of the things that I think is an overwhelming notion is that we have, because of society, we have kind of packaged the man to be problematic and the woman to be a little bit more like delicate and, all of those things. And I think that there are not enough conversations around female trauma. I think that this generation of women are walking around with way more trauma than they realize. This whole notion of a masculine woman, I can be both masculine and feminine. We all can in both genders. But I think that a large part of that is a trauma response. And I think that a lot of times when we look at women who've decided to land in their masculinity and stay there, and they're like, I don't need a person, or even if they do need a person, they're kind of listing off their accolades instead of how to complement and coexist. We don't recognize, if we peel that back, it's because someone let us down. And we're afraid to put someone else in that position, right? And I think that that's the conversation that I would like to see more people be open to. Sisters, we are great. We have arrived in a state where we are able to make big bank. We are able to all of the things, we can take our kids around the country instead of showing them a geography book. We can take them around the world instead of showing it to them on TV. But we have to ask ourselves, when it comes down to being vessels, right? Like how can we get back to a space where we can complement one another and build foundationally with someone? And I think that comes, again, I repressed my trauma through achievement. I feel like I'm seeing that happen. I did it in high school. Yeah. I'm kind of sobering out now, but I feel like for those who have gotten into strides in their career, and I love my sisters and I love my brothers. My brothers are tripping. I don't know what they're talking about on their podcast, to be very frank. But I do know that for my sisters, for my ladies, I think that it's very important for us to not allow our resume to dictate the quality of our heart, the condition of our heart, our ability to be good parents. I have found more in my work with CBD how many traumatized, toxic moms are out there.
Let's talk about moms in CBD.
Fathers, but let's talk about toxic mothers.
Let's talk about moms in CBD. Let's talk about moms in CBD, moms in wine. Wine moms. Well, moms in weed. Yes. We can have a whole support group.
The family wouldn't have blended without the plant. I just want to say that. Yeah.
Well, what I started to realize, I would say several years ago, but the pandemic really shined a light on it, was how much women were leaning to alcohol as a way to just manage and get through and de-stress and deal with whatever emotion was coming up for them. And I think we definitely, because as you know, with the pandemic, only certain businesses were essential, and thankfully dispensaries were one of them. Right. And beverage stores, alcohol stores, ABC stores, those were one of them. Those were one of those businesses that were deemed essential. And, that was also a light bulb moment, because once we figured out, the government said dispensaries were essential.
It changed the game.
It changed the game. It definitely changed the game. But we found that more women are relying on weed, CBD, wine in order to decompress, to de-stress, to manage emotions and feelings. And so many more aren't taking care of the issue that's causing the stress, the depression, the anxiety, the overwhelm. Why is that, do you think?
Well, I think that there's a dependency. I know for me, I personally chose cannabis as my way to de-stress because I always wanted to present neutrality, and I always wanted to present a sense of calm because I was dealing with someone else's child. And when you're dealing with someone else's child, you work very hard to handle that with care, or handle that person with care. And it's easy to get offended, in the exchange of parenting and creating family, et cetera. And from those offenses, especially when there's a blend, an offense could become a big thing. Yes. And so I consistently consumed because I wanted an opportunity to understand my thoughts. I didn't use it as an escape. I used it as a place to process. And it gave me a chance to contribute, to both my bonus son's life and even my husband in his journey of raising his son. When I met my bonus son, he was 15. So in a lot of ways, he was already an adult, emotionally, mentally, physically. And so I didn't come in, nor did we develop a mom-son relationship because he had already developed his trust in other areas. But I wanted to make sure that I contributed to his positive outcome in life. Yeah. And I think that that's a thing. What we are finding is a lot of moms who are cannabis moms are coming out of the closet. Again, it helps with, creating patience in the environment. It helps with stabilizing, antidepressant is anti-anxiety, whereas alcohol is really just a soother. Yes. The medicinal nature of the plant contributes to not just soothing, but alleviating some concerns. Absolutely. And I think that the reason why this is an important conversation is because just not too long ago, if your kid went to school and said that, you can actually, the government could be called, the state could be called, and you can be separated from your child. We want to begin to have more conversations around cannabis and motherhood because it's not just recreational. And so if she likes lavender tea, then she might like cannabis tincture. It's an herb that has the therapeutic benefits that brings a value. And going back to even my original notion of, as women, we can have these accolades and achievements, but what's the true quality of our hearts? It's because we have to stand still long enough to deal with us. Yes. But if we're constantly in go mode and we're constantly like chasing something and escaping something, then that lack of presence doesn't allow us a space to heal. And I think that for those of us who choose cannabis, we tend to choose stillness. We tend to choose a space where we're able to exist and be and not escape.
That's what we're searching for. That's what we want. That's what we want. Yeah. And it's without the realization that in order to have that on an ongoing basis, absolutely, I can carry around my my yummies with me, right? I can carry around my gummies. I can carry around my tincture. I can carry around these things. But at some point, I have to deal with the thing. I have to deal with the thing. I have to find a way to deal with the thing. I can't continue to overload myself and accepting a whole bunch of projects when I'm already overwhelmed with the 15 that I have. Right. I can't ignore the financial issues that are piling up for me and think that, dropping some tincture and or whatever, I need to talk to somebody. I can't avoid the conflict that I'm having in my relationship anymore. Even though I'm able to check out with a little bit of weed, I'm able to check out. The problem's still there when the weed wears off. Right. And so for me, it's something that helps us, to me, right? It's something that helps us kind of streamline priority, helps us to focus. It does. It can definitely bring about a sense of clarity, right? To identify, okay, I can breathe now. I can figure out what it is I need to do, how to attack it. so much of that adaptogenic nature of CBD is about equalizing and leveling. Mm-hmm. Balancing. And I think that a lot of people don't recognize that that's what they're looking for, but that's absolutely what they're getting. That's what they're getting. And I love that. I love that.
Absolutely.
CBD and sex.
Listen, CBD and sex is a whole experience.
It is a whole experience.
We're waiting for Kinky Green's, I'm not going to talk about what she has in
I know.
Trust me, I've already told the lab. I just need to do the test dummy. But for me, because of going back to the trauma, again, I spent a number of years celibate. So, I've rediscovered sex and marriage, which I'm grateful for. But I also discovered where my trauma contributed to my ability to be fully free.
Sure.
And so CBD, which the products that I've used have been like suppositories and things of that nature, it has helped me to relax and be present and be able to receive without phobia. I remember one time, my response, it was like, have you ever been beaten before? And I've never been physically abused, but I have this image of someone holding a gun to my head that that can really,
can pop up for you.
It pops up for me. And so that's one of the things that I absolutely love about CBD is that, it's so universal. We can talk about it for blood pressure. We can talk about it for intimacy challenges, for both men and women, because there are so many men due to health challenges. Again, not to evade responsibility for getting to the root of things and fixing it, but certainly to give you a space to kind of like understand that it exists. Yeah. And even with erectile dysfunction, et cetera, we've heard so many responses from men about how they've been able to like enjoy it more because of it. And those are the parts of the plants that we have to talk about. Not all of us are interested in getting high. As a matter of fact, CBD that's hemp derived has no psychoactive qualities.
Right.
But what we are interested in is a chance to like, especially people of color. I feel like we've been running since they released us from slavery. We've been trying to catch up. We've been trying to catch up educationally. We've been trying to catch up economically. And many of us, it's in our genetics to just be
on the go, jittery, on edge. We do not know how to rest.
We don't know how to rest. And
it doesn't feel familiar.
It doesn't feel, you almost feel guilty. And like you said, it helps with the decompression. It helps with gaining clarity. And then it helps with giving you the permission and the grace you need in order to rest and reset. We've heard so many of our clients say that they've never experienced sleep the way that they've experienced it after consuming. And it's so powerful because that's when our bodies have a chance to really heal and rejuvenate from a day. And so all of these conversations, this is the reason why I'm excited to bring it to the forefront and make it less taboo. We should talk about moms and their love for cannabis. We should talk about truckers in the logistics industry. The Federal Motor Carrier Association being federally regulated, they do test for cannabinoids. And so you could lose your entire career if you test positive. But yet these truckers stop at truck stops where there's nothing but horrible food. They're in these machines and equipment where their bodies are breaking down consistently. They're driving for 10, 12 hours a day in some instances, nonstop. And so it's like, where is the balance? We've seen the NCAA loosen their requirements. We've seen the NFL, NBA, NHL loosen their requirements. Why aren't other industries recognizing the medicinal qualities of the plant and giving people this plant medicinal option? So I am excited.
And it's still that fear. It's that same fear, that was instilled in us long ago. And fear, the thing to combat that fear is education.
Yeah.
Is education. And we have to be, we really have to advocate for ourselves to get that information and really scrape and find it. But the information is there. We need to study it and we need to make these decisions for ourselves. And I really do applaud you for bringing about the CBD Preneur Academy, because that absolutely helps. I want to know what is your favorite way to consume CBD?
Smoking. I'm a smoker to the core. It's the fastest absorption process. I also like to feel myself go up and down because I don't only consume CBD. So I will, but so I like to feel that experience. And I also enjoy the gummies. I mean, of course, but for me, I enjoy feeling it. And I even enjoy vaping, not vaping the pen, but the actual steaming process. I don't know if your clients have ever tried it, but when you put any sort of hemp or cannabis flower in a yoni steam for women in the intimate area, it's a whole lituation. It's a whole
something to think about.
It's a whole lituation. I've had clients tell me how they were jumping on their spouses afterwards. Like, wait a minute. I know you said you're going downstairs and get a snack, but before you leave this bedroom, like, just go ahead and break me off real quick because of the excitement. I think that those are my two favorite ways to consume, either smoking it or I do enjoy monthly, like a steaming process because it's just awesome.
Let me tell you, the one time, I think this must have been the Christmas that we did all the candles. I think you had talked to me about it, or maybe you emailed me or called me or something like that, right? And I was so anxious. I'm usually not an anxious person. I'm a very calm, even-keeled person. For whatever reason, I was so anxious after that phone call because you were like, oh yeah, we're going to need 50 candles. And at the time, like, I'm trying to produce enough to maintain for the side. Like, I don't, I want low overhead. So I'm not trying to buy a bunch of materials and like 50 candles. And of course you can't say no. So I was like, and it might've been 25. I don't know if it was 25 or 50, whatever it was. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I took, I want to say I might've taken 2 gummies and a whole dropper full of tincture.
Not a whole dropper.
A whole dropper full. Like, I just was not thinking. And so the next, so I'm sitting here. You had already said something to me. It was probably a call and then I needed to confirm or something with an email. And so I wrote out an email to you that was probably all of 6 to 9 sentences. When I tell you it took me an hour and a half to write this email. And I'm telling you this because what I took was CBD. It was not THC.
It has low tolerance, guys.
So full spectrum CBD does have less than 0.3% of THC in it. But apparently, if you take enough of it, you're going to feel something. Because I had taken way too much and I just wasn't thinking about it. I was just like, I got to feel this like immediately. So tincture under the tongue, whole dropper full.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that. And when I was spelling words phonetically. So if there was something that I was trying to say, like I would just write the word out how it sounded as opposed. And so I was just like, oh my God, I cannot send this email because I need to I know this doesn't make sense. And it's also taken me an hour and a half to write 6 sentences.
So here's the funny thing about you that I know. First of all, you probably made these gummies and you made them for your family. So we know they were super dosed, right? Look at your face. I already know.
They were 50 milligrams.
Gummy guys. So we believe in microdosing, but the OG over here just likes to give.
But see, I take 50 milligrams at night, right? But I was like, I need this to work, and I don't know.
50
but
milligrams of gummies and 50 milligrams of tincture,
and
then how much? You did 2 gummies, you said?
Yes.
You did 150 milligrams in one sitting.
It just wasn't smart. It was not smart.
But to everyone watching,
in the middle of the day,
first of all, don't do that. To everyone watching, microdosing is a thing. So start with like 25 to 50 milligrams. The gummies that we offer are 10 milligrams each that Dr. Tiffany also offers. But, when she makes them for her family, they just want that quick punch. And
Yeah.
she needs to know that she can't make the same. She can't eat out of that bag. You got to eat out of the different bag.
Or just, take a half a bite. Like I was operating on emotion at that point, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out. Cause I'm not about to tell her no. Like I said, this is something that I want to do. And the opportunity came to me, and I have to step into that. I have to do what I need to do in order to meet this challenge. And so, we live to tell the story. I know better now. And these are the same gummies that like my family asks for. People that are close to me ask for, because they understand, like, the power of sleep is a wonderful thing.
It's underrated.
Being able to sleep. It is so underrated. That is the number one thing. Yeah.
Our ability to normalize not sleeping well shows a sign of dysfunction as a culture and society. Mm-hmm. I think that even getting back to what we were just originally talking about just different components of CBD, I think that one of the things that I appreciate about my cannabis journey is that the healing that it introduced me to, because I was able to stop, reset, assess. When I sat down with my therapist, it wasn't as if I was holding anything back. I would come bearing it all. Like, hey, this is what came up to me while I was, let's talk about this. I think that the goal of being an adult is to have the spirit of a child. I think that the healthiest of adults can appreciate not disconnecting from their inner child, but bringing their inner child into every part of their life. I think that that's the essence of individuality. When babies are born and when they're developed in their first 7 to 10 years, we see who they are in that space. And I appreciate how my journey has allowed me to peel back the layers that life put on me and allow me to forge forth with who I desire to show, who Quenisha has always been, and who the person who likes to explore, the person who likes challenges, etc., doing it with such fearlessness, because I feel that I understand myself. I think that there's a meme that says, like, if you don't smoke, I can't talk to you. But the truth is, I do find that people who have not tapped into something like cannabis, it feels sometimes that they're operating in an element of themselves that they've created and manufactured. And it's when they get to take that experience, whether through tincture, gummy, smoking, where they're able to say, this is who I am. This is what I like. And it takes time. But I think that that's such a powerful place to get to, especially in a society where everyone's looking for who to be. It's so dope to be able to just be yourself.
Be yourself. To just be. To relax in that, appreciate that, and then seeing the world through those eyes, right? Yeah. When you are actually relaxed enough, you've given yourself permission to just be, to be able to look at the world from that lens.
It's different.
That is different.
Yeah.
That's heaven. That's what we all strive for.
One of those highly sensitive, empathic people. And I tell people all the time, when I'm able to engage with certain energies, I immediately have to get back. I tell my reset is light and love, light and love. Like if I come across a heavy energy, I'm like, light and love, because they're not light. So I'm going to walk in love, and I'm going to keep my lightness. I don't like trauma bonding or any of those things because it's so heavy. And what I have found, and what I tell people all the time, especially through insomnia, pain relief, I love how unheavy it can make you. If you allow the process to be a part of your therapeutic journey, it can really help you to release the load so that your effervescence can just shine through. So that's all I have to say about the plant.
Amen. 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 And amen. I see it as, and I encourage people to think about it as a supplement to other therapeutic interventions, whether that's medical or therapeutic in terms of psychotherapy. And I also just encourage people to be so honest with your doctors about what it is you're taking.
Absolutely.
For the most part, our doctors aren't necessarily judging us. They just want to help us, right? They want to understand what you're already doing so that they can make some recommendations on what we can do to make sure that works for you. If you're not telling your doctor what you're using, if you're not telling your doctor what you're drinking or the things that you are doing, they're giving you a solution that is, for lack of a better word, half baked. Like they're giving you a solution that doesn't encompass your lifestyle and what you actually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not helping yourself by not disclosing that information.
Right. And another quick tip, if you're going in for any sort of surgery, anesthesia is a thing. It's not the time to hide that detail. It can be life or death. Highly consequential if you don't disclose that information. And then the third piece is that doctors aren't police officers. So, you know, hemp-derived CBD, and hemp is a form of cannabis. It's federally legal. It has many of the same components chemically as marijuana. If you feel more comfortable just sharing a different version of the plant, just be more specific and honest, because as you mentioned, we've had patients of like COPD patients whose breathing treatments have declined because of their tincture usage. And so they're able to, and even when you had 11 fibroids removed, 15 pounds worth of fibroids. I used tincture throughout the process prior to surgery, and I used tincture and pain balm for my surgery recovery. And it's on all of my medical paperwork, because how else do we push the industry forward? How else do we normalize it? Unless we go into our doctors and say, well, what are you taking at home? Well, I'm taking a little CBD and my multivitamin every day. They need to know these different things. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Q, I want to thank you again. Information is so critical to all of us who want to learn more and who want to be well. So I thank you so much. And guys, if you're interested, please go to whfarms.co for more information on Q Nicole and on WH Farms, and to get your CBD sample pack, because it's amazing.
It is amazing.
She has some amazing things, some amazing educational components, and just an amazing company. So please check her out. This has been Intimate Details with Dr. Tiff. I'll see you later.